Hey folks, I'm Jake Ramsey, and this is the story of how I turned Rolling Pines, Texas, into the wildest comedy showdown you've ever heard. My wife Tara and I, after years roughing it on oil rigs, settled into a 15-acre ranch to soak up the freedom of wide-open skies. But that dream nearly crashed when Evelyn Crane, the HOA's iron-fisted queen, slapped a 60-foot telecom tower on our hill without so much as a howdy, then fined me for daring to complain. As if that wasn't enough, she called me a selfish outsider, right in front of Tara. Mad as hell. I uncovered Evelyn's scheme to cash in on the tower and tighten her grip on Rolling Pines. So, I bought the ridge that controlled the tower's signal, jammed it to oblivion, threw a community concert that had the whole town in stitches, and sent Evelyn packing. If you've ever been steamrolled by an HOA, or just crave a hilariously over-the-top revenge tale, hold on tight, because I turned that tower into scrap metal and handed Rolling Pines back to its people. I'm Jake Ramsey, a former oil rig worker who retired to live a free life with my wife, Tara, on a 15-acre ranch in Rolling Pines, Texas. We dreamed of lazy days under vast skies, the sound of wind through the grass, and building a true Texas home. But that dream was threatened in October, when Evelyn Crane, the HOA president, turned our hill into a battleground by erecting a telecom tower without so much as a word. That morning, the air was crisp, and I was sipping coffee when Tara, petite with olive skin, yelled from the window, "Jake, you gotta see this." I rushed out. My dark blonde hair was a mess, and my green eyes widened at the sight of a towering steel telecom frame gleaming on our hill. Tara grabbed my hand, her fierce brown eyes flashing. "They put that thing on our land without a word." I pulled Tara up the hill, heart pounding. The workers were gone, leaving a mess of dirt and the tower like a scar on the landscape. Evelyn Crane, plump with pale skin and short blonde hair, stood there in a red t-shirt and black khakis, clipboard in hand. Her pinched face scowled, gray eyes glaring at us like we were vandals. "This is an HOA-approved project, Mr. Ramsey," she said, voice icy, handing me a $500 fine for obstructing community progress. I stepped forward, trying to stay calm, despite the rage boiling inside. "You're on my land, Miss Crane. Show me the building permit," she sneered, her voice echoing across the hill, loud enough for neighbors to hear. "Mr. Ramsey, you're a selfish outsider, dragging this tacky wife along to ruin Rolling Pines." Tara, beside me, clenched her fists, face flushing with shame and anger. Her eyes shot daggers, but she whispered, "Jake, don't let her win." I took a deep breath, voice low. "Send me the permit and specific HOA rules, Miss Crane. We'll review them." She smirked, tossing the fine notice to the ground like a gauntlet, then spun on her low heels, strutting off like she'd won a war. Tara picked up the paper, voice trembling. How dare she talk to us like that? I hugged her, our anger fusing. "Tara, she just made a big mistake. We'll make her regret it." That night, I scoured emails and HOA documents. No rule allowed a tower on private land. But I found a juicy tidbit in the HOA files. The ridge surrounding our hill, owned by Pine Ridge Co., was for sale due to the company's financial troubles. The telecom tower needed the ridge to relay signals without it. The tower was just a useless hunk of metal. An idea sparked. Like spotting a promising oil well back on the rigs, I dug deeper into Evelyn. She ran Crane Ventures, a shady real estate outfit, and her social media posts bragged about community-enhancing projects with photos of her beside similar towers, never mentioning personal profit. Her hypocrisy set my blood on fire. I knew I'd need allies to take her on. The next morning, while checking a fence near the hill, I met Walt Brewer, a retired neighbor, lean, with dark skin and silver hair. He was tinkering with a car in his yard. When I mentioned the tower, he grimaced. "Evelyn fined me $400 for a substandard fence," he said, voice low. "If you want the dirt, stop by my workshop. I've got some intel on her." His hazel eyes glinted with cunning, like a seasoned player ready for the game. I nodded, feeling like I'd just found a comrade. Tara, when I filled her in, gripped my hand tight. "Jake, She thinks she can trespass on our land and insult us. Show her. Rolling Pines isn't her playground. I grinned, adrenaline surging, like back on the rigs facing a big challenge. Evelyn might think she owned Rolling Pines, but I was ready to turn the ridge into a weapon and silence her tower's signal for good. After Evelyn Crane's illegal telecom tower sprouted on our hill, and she insulted me as a selfish outsider in front of Tara, I knew I couldn't let her keep running the show. Rolling Pines was our home, and I was determined to turn that tower into scrap metal. Walt Brewer, a retired neighbor, cracked open the first window into Evelyn's schemes. The next morning, I headed to his auto workshop, the air thick with motor oil and coffee. Walt, lean with dark skin and silver hair, wore a faded blue plaid shirt, wiping his hands on a rag. His sharp hazel eyes glinted as I recounted the tower fiasco. Evelyn runs Rolling Pines like a plantation boss, he said, voice heavy with frustration. She finds folks for nonsense, substandard fences. Noisy kids. Most pay up and stay quiet. He led me into the workshop, pointing to a stack of papers on a wooden table. That tower. She's leasing it to Horizon Telecom for big bucks. I sat down, heart racing. From my oil rig days, I knew how to spot cracks in big plans. Walt flipped through the papers, revealing a draft contract between the HOA and Horizon. The tower needs the ridge to relay signals, he explained. No ridge. It's just metal junk. I recalled the HOA file. Pine Ridge Co., the ridge's owner, was selling due to debt. You're saying Evelyn's after the ridge? Walt nodded. She wants it to lock in the Horizon deal. Walt introduced me to Quinn Parker, a young hacker he called a tech wizard. We met Quinn at the workshop that afternoon, petite with pale skin and dyed blue hair. Quinn wore a black hoodie, hunched over a laptop. Her sly brown eyes scanned the screen, a cunning grin forming. I've been tracking Evelyn for a while, she said, pulling up a data table. She targets newcomers with fines, forcing cheap home sales. Then her shell company, Crane Ventures, swoops in. She pointed to a hacked email. Evelyn's offering $5,000 for the ridge, but Pine Ridge wants cash now. I was stunned. The $500 fine for obstructing progress wasn't just arrogance. It was part of her plan to control Rolling Pines. Why hasn't anyone fought back? I asked. Quinn shrugged. Fear. Evelyn's got city council connections. One guy, Carlos Vega, challenged her and got fined until he left. Walt chimed in. But you, Jake, have oil money saved. You can outbid her. Tara, when I filled her in that night, gripped my hand tight. Her brown eyes blazed with resolve. Jake, she trespassed on our land, insulted us, and now wants the ridge. Stop her. I nodded, feeling like I was back on the rigs, facing a tough but promising well. Tara, we'll buy the ridge before she does, and I've got an idea to make her look like a fool. Walt set up a secret meeting at his workshop, inviting other residents Evelyn had bullied. One, Rosa, shared a $300 fine for non-compliant trees. Another, Malik, got hit for improper parking, despite his car being in his driveway. I laid out the ridge discovery. If we own it, Evelyn's tower is useless, I said. Quinn laughed. I can dig up more of her data for proof. Walt winked. Jake, you're making her her own worst enemy. I started planning the ridge purchase. Quinn promised to monitor Pine Ridge Co.'s. His emails for Evelyn's moves. Tara, with her sharp organizational skills, suggested a shell company to buy the land anonymously. Call it Ramsey Ridge, LLC, she said, smirking. It'll sting more when she finds out late. I agreed, adrenaline pumping like striking oil after days of drilling. Before leaving the workshop, Walt handed me a telecom tower schematic. If you own the ridge, you can jam its signal, he said, voice thrilled. Give her a tech lesson. Quinn added, I know some cheap, effective jammers. It'll be a riot. I grinned, picturing Evelyn panicking as her tower went silent. That night, I checked our savings enough to top Evelyn's bid. I also scoured her social media, posts boasting community vision with photos of her beside towers. Not a word about personal gain. Her fakery only hardened my resolve. Rolling Pines wasn't Evelyn's playground, and I'd use the ridge to prove it. As Tara and I gazed at the hill from our porch, the tower glinting under the moonlight, I knew the fight was just beginning. After uncovering Evelyn Crane's plot with the telecom tower and the ridge, I knew the tower on our hill was useless without the ridge's signal relay, and I was determined to own it before she did. With intel from Walt Brewer and Quinn Parker, I learned Evelyn was offering $5,000 to buy the ridge through Crane Ventures to seal her deal with Horizon Telecom. But I'd make her plans crumble, with a dash of humor to leave all of Rolling Pines in stitches. That night on our porch, I shared the plan with Tara. She sat on a rocking chair, brown eyes blazing with resolve. Jake, she didn't just trespass on our land. She's trying to control the whole town. Give her a shock. Tara grabbed my hand, a mischievous smile spreading. I nodded, feeling like I was back on the rigs, ready to hit a gusher. Tara, we'll buy the ridge and silence her tower's signal. Quinn, via our secret messaging group, sent hacked data from Pine Ridge Co. He has emails. Evelyn was struggling because banks doubted Crane Ventures' loan. This is our shot, Quinn wrote. They want cash, and she's got none. I decided to meet Ellen Voss, Pine Ridge Co. His CEO, directly. Walt arranged a meeting at a quiet diner on the outskirts of Rolling Pines to dodge Evelyn's spies. That afternoon, I stepped into the diner, the scent of grilled bread and coffee in the air. Ellen, slender with fair skin and auburn hair, wore a green blazer, sitting in a corner booth. Her tired blue eyes sized me up. Evelyn's $5,000 bid is on shaky credit, she said, voice flat. I, in a denim jacket and jeans, grinned with the confidence of my oil deal days. $600,000, all cash. Closed in 7 days. Ellen blinked, then shook my hand. Get the paperwork ready. Mr. Ramsey, if you pull it off, the ridge is yours. I set up Ramsey Ridge LLC, a shell company to buy the ridge anonymously. This had to stay under wraps if Evelyn sniffed it out. She'd play dirty, but she didn't let up. 2 days after meeting Ellen, I got a new fine, $300 for a messy driveway. Though our yard was spotless, Tara was hit with $200 for non-compliant flowers, just some daisies she planted. Walt reported a fine for an off-color mailbox, and Quinn got one for disruptive parking, despite just visiting Walt. These fines weren't just harassment. They were meant to wear us down. Tara, though furious, stayed calm. She's rattled. Jake, don't let her throw you off. But when a neighbor relayed rumors spread by Evelyn's cronies calling me a community wrecker, I nearly lost it. I wanted to confront her. But Quinn texted the group. Patience. Jake, she's about to shoot herself in the foot. I took a deep breath, recalling rig days when rivals played dirty. But I won by biding my time. Evelyn proved predictable. A week later, she called an emergency HOA meeting to discuss a tower maintenance plan. Walt guessed she'd push a $75 monthly fee per household, pretending it was for tower upkeep, but really to fund her ridge bid. Me, Walt, Quinn, and our secret crew planned to attend, posing as compliant residents. I prepped the ridge ownership papers and called a friend, a deputy sheriff, for some extra flair. Tara, with her knack for organization, suggested a revenge idea. If you own the ridge, jam the tower's signal. The whole town will see her powerless. While waiting, I finalized the Pine Ridge Co. deal via email. Ellen confirmed. If the money landed on time, the ridge was mine. I started sketching a funny payback, installing signal jammers on the ridge to cripple the tower, then hosting a community concert on the hillside to expose Evelyn's schemes. Walt roared with laughter at the idea. Jake, you'll make her wish she never built that tower, Quinn added. I'll hack more of her fining data. The residents need the truth. Each new fine from Evelyn only steeled my resolve. I thought back to facing cutthroat oil industry rivals, winning by staying cool and striking at the right moment. This time, the ridge was my weapon, and a silenced signal would be the knockout blow. As I left the house to prep for the HOA meeting, I glanced at the tower looming on the hill under the sunset. Evelyn might think she was queen, but I'd show her who Rolling Pines belonged to, our secret team. Walt Brewer, Quinn Parker, and me was ready to strike the final blow. Evelyn thought she held all the power, but I was about to silence her tower's signal and leave the whole town laughing in her face. The HOA meeting for the tower maintenance plan was the perfect stage. Evelyn proposed a $75 monthly fee per household, disguising her real goal, pooling money to buy the mountain ridge for her Horizon Telecom contract. She threw shade at saboteurs like me, earning scowls from some residents. Quinn texted in our group, "Do it, Jake. Tear her act apart." I took a deep breath, feeling like a gunslinger steadying for a duel. I'd tipped off my deputy sheriff friend to show up, adding drama. I had the mountains deed ready, vetted by our lawyer. Walt and Quinn were prepped to back me with tough questions. Tara stayed home but texted, "Jake, leave her no way out." She even suggested, "When the tower goes dark, throw a concert on the ridge. The whole town will side with you." I grinned, drawing strength from my sharp-witted wife. On meeting day, the cramped hall was packed. Evelyn, plump, pale, with short blonde hair, stood at the podium in a red tee and black khakis, smug as a queen. Her presentation dripped with hollow phrases about community benefits and a connected future. She insisted the fee was for tower upkeep, but never mentioned Horizon. Some nodded, but I caught skeptical glances. Evelyn's credibility was slipping. When she opened the floor, I stood, heart pounding but voice steady. "Miss Crane, I've got a question." She squinted, clearly surprised I'd speak up. "The tower needs the ridge to transmit." "Right. So if the ridge isn't HOA property, what's this plan for?" The room buzzed. Evelyn forced a laugh. "Mr. Ramsey, the ridge is shared land. It needs protection." I stepped forward, pulling the deed from my pocket. Funny, because I just checked. The ridge isn't HOA land. It's owned by Pine Ridge Co. and now by me, through Ramsey Ridge LLC. The room went dead silent. Evelyn froze, face white. "Plus," I added, "your tower's useless without that signal." I moved to adjourn this meeting. I signaled my deputy friend, who strode in uniform. The crowd erupted. Evelyn sputtered, "This is absurd." I handed the deed to a nearby resident. "Check it." "I've got every right." "Crane." My friend nodded, ushering people out. Evelyn stood rigid, gray eyes wild, her empire crumbling. News spread fast. The next day, with Quinn's help, I jammed the tower's signal from the ridge. We threw the Ridge Rock Festival, local bands, food trucks, and murals mocking Evelyn's tower. One showed her hugging it with signals dead scrawled beneath. Quinn projected her violation records on a screen, exposing how she targeted new residents for profit. The crowd seethed. An HOA audit revealed Evelyn had funneled funds into her personal account. She sued me, claiming community rights to the tower, but the case collapsed when the judge saw my deed. Crane Ventures buckled under financial pressure, and Evelyn slunk out of Rolling Pines after local kids spray-painted her mailbox like a creative farewell card. I banned HOA leaders' kids from town events until their parents resigned. Most quit within days. Walt became the new HOA president, vowing transparency. Ridge Rock ended with a light show over the mountains, the whole town dancing under the stars. Tara, in her blue sweater, hugged me tight. "Jake, you did it." She never stood a chance. I smiled, gazing at the ridge, now ours, standing on the hillside as the festival wound down. I thought of Evelyn. She'd assumed a tower and a few insults would break me. But I'd learned on oil rigs. The strongest know when to wait and where to hit. Rolling Pines was our home now, free and bright, and no signal was strong enough to silence us. After toppling Evelyn Crane and crippling her telecom tower, I, Jake Ramsey, felt like Rolling Pines had been reborn. The tower, once a symbol of control, was dismantled, leaving our ranch's hill pristine as ever. The Ridge Rock Festival wasn't just a hilarious payback. It sparked a tight-knit community where no one bowed to absurd fines. But I wanted to ensure this free spirit would endure. One cool fall morning, I stood on the ridge, watching Tara inspect a new trail, petite with olive skin. She wore a navy jacket, her brown eyes sparkling as she pointed to a wooden sign. "Jake, This trail will lead folks to the peak for stargazing, she said, beaming. My dark blonde hair was dusted with dirt, and my green eyes swelled with pride. Tara, we've made this ridge something special. It felt like the rig days, striking oil after relentless effort. The ridge, now Ramsey Nature Preserve, became Rolling Pines' heart. Trails and lookout points drew tourists from across Texas, especially the Ridge Rock mural of Evelyn, clutching her tower with "Signal Dead" scrawled across it. Locals even suggested naming a trail silent signal path to honor our win. Walt Brewer, the new HOA president, held transparent meetings at a mountain lodge, lean with dark skin and silver hair. He often quipped, "Jake, you turned the HOA from a jail into a camping club." His hazel eyes gleamed as residents clapped after each vote. Quinn Parker, with blue-dyed hair and pale skin, kept tabs on the HOA's digital dealings. She uncovered more of Evelyn's shady transactions, recovering thousands for residents. In a black hoodie, Quinn told me at a meeting, "Jake, thanks to you, we're not scared of tech or her anymore." I grinned, proud of allies like her and Walt. To keep the ridge vibrant, I founded the Ramsey Ridge Fund, bankrolling free stargazing and hiking programs. Tara led nature tours, teaching kids about Texas ecosystems. I ran tech workshops, with Quinn teaching basic coding, turning the ridge into an open-air learning hub. I also launched a scholarship in Tara's name, supporting high schoolers in science or environmental studies. Tara, hearing the news, hugged me tight. "Jake, you've truly shaken this town. In the best way." Not everything was smooth. A few of Evelyn's old cronies spread rumors I'd sell the ridge to developers. I shut it down at a community meeting, publicly sharing the Ramsey Ridge Fund's document. "This ridge belongs to Rolling Pines forever," I declared, holding up the trust agreement. Residents cheered, and the rumor mongers slunk away. Walt winked. "Jake, you're Rolling Pines' fastest gunslinger." A year later, Rolling Pines shone brighter than ever. The second Ridge Rock Festival drew thousands, with food stalls, mural contests, and a light show on the peak. Quinn built an app for residents to vote on preservation projects, and Tara led kids in painting a new mural, a community holding hands under a starry sky. A tourist, snapping a photo of the Evelyn mural, laughed. "Whoever dreamed this up is a legend." I glanced at Tara, who winked. "That was your idea, cowboy." I built a small observatory on the ridge, etched with Ramsey Ridge, where Rolling Pines' spirit began. Old residents, once cowed by Evelyn, now gathered on the ridge for coffee and stories. Every time I crossed the ridge, birdsong and pine scent reminded me of the fight we won, not just for our ranch, but for all of Rolling Pines. Standing on the peak at sunset, watching light glint over the fields, I thought of Evelyn. She underestimated me, thinking a tower and a few insults could break me. But I learned from the oil fields, victory goes to the patient, the one who seizes the moment and goes big. Rolling Pines is our home now, a place of freedom and creativity, and no signals strong enough to silence this spirit. If you loved this story and want to follow more adventures, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Together, we'll keep shaking mountains and holding Rolling Pines free.